Hey guys, welcome back to the Steadfast Podcast. I just want to say before we start today that my kids wanted to ride their bikes into school this morning, and I really did not anticipate like how long that was going to take. So here I am, without my hair done or any of that. But you know what? I just thought you guys don't mind. So let's roll with it. So we last week we talked about anxiety, and we specifically got into kind of the neurobiology around anxiety. And as a follow-up to that this week, I really wanted to, as a woman, kind of take a deep dive into the hormonal changes related to anxiety. So I don't know about you guys. I'm going to get to the stat here in a second. Actually, I'll just tell you 75% of women experience some sort of anxiety or mood change during that PMS time. And I'm one of those. So my anxiety spikes, my mood sometimes dips, my thoughts sometimes just get kind of wonky, maybe a little bit more brain fog. I'm normally operating in a lot of brain fog, but sometimes more during that time for me. And so I just thought, you know what, let's take a deep dive into that specifically. Let's figure out what's actually changing in our body during that time. And I have an exciting announcement for you guys at the end of this video. Okay, so last week we talked about how anxiety is essentially our brain's alarm system. So it's designed to protect us, and here's my little anxiety from the movie Inside Out. They do a great job of kind of framing that for us and helping us really understand that anxiety has a place. We don't need to kick anxiety out. We actually need anxiety. God made anxiety for a purpose. And it's when anxiety operates outside of that design, that's when we see problems. So those problems include when the system can become overly sensitive and we have chronic anxiety. We also explored the role of neurotransmitters last week, like serotonin, GABA, and cortisol, in regulating our mood and our stress response. Specifically with the cortisol one, pay attention. And today we're going to talk about tracking a lot. I think one of the things I always have women do who are in those reproductive years is track that cycle. Like get an old school calendar. Sometimes, I also track on my phone, but the Apple app, to me, it just doesn't let you input enough like data, like it just says mood changes. But sometimes I want to know, like, was it panic? Was it low mood? Was it just kind of felt anxiety in my body? Like, I want to be more specific about those types of things. But also what you're going to find as women, it's actually kind of really cool how we go through this cycle every, whatever your number is, 28, 26, 30 days, whatever your number is. What you're going to find over the course of that cycle, not only are you going to ovulate, not only are you going to menstruate, the things that kind of you really can notice, but also you're more creative at certain points in your cycle. Your body craves different things nutritionally across that cycle. You are more kind to yourself. Your self-talk is different on different parts of that cycle. So to really know and understand your own personal cycle is one of the most important things that you can do as a woman. So I think at least 3 months of just having a paper calendar, tracking every little slight difference. Like for me, I know if I'm getting ready to start my period, because one of the indicators is if I go in my closet and I'm like, I have absolutely nothing to wear. Like, I don't feel confident in anything that I have on. That's actually something that is tied to a hormonal change in my body. More things than you think are tied to those things, which I think is just fascinating. Okay, so today, clearly we're going to take a deep dive into hormones. We're going to shift our focus to the unique hormonal changes that occur during the menstrual cycle and how these fluctuations can contribute to anxiety and mood swings. particularly in those days leading up to your period. So if you felt more anxious, irritable, or emotionally volatile during that time, it's not just in your head, ladies. There is a biological basis for it. And to me, that really helps. So when my anxiety is high, a lot of times I'll pull my phone out or I'll look at my calendar and I'll say, okay, yeah, like I'm like 1 or 2 days out from my period. And that helps calm me. It helps like, okay, well, there's some data for this. And I kind of know what's going on. So we're going to explore that in detail today. Okay, so let's talk about what is PMS. We hear that word kind of phrase thrown out. So what exactly is it? So premenstrual syndrome, or PMS, refers to the physical and emotional symptoms that many women experience in the luteal phase of their menstrual cycle. We'll get into that more in a second, which is the time between ovulation and the start of menstruation. So PMS can include a wide range of symptoms like, and there's a bunch more, but here we go. Bloating, headaches, breast tenderness, and importantly for our conversation today, mood and anxiety changes. Okay, so like I said before, 75% of women report experiencing some form of PMS, with symptoms ranging from mild to severe. For some, the symptoms are manageable, but for others, they really can be debilitating, and they can impact daily life and overall well-being. Let's talk about what's happening in our body during this time. Let's talk about the hormonal changes. So to understand how PMS affects our mood and anxiety, we need to take a closer look at the hormonal changes that occur during the menstruation cycle. The menstrual cycle is divided into 4 main phases, okay? So we've got the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, ovulation, and the luteal phase. So we're going to start talking about the follicular phase. So in this phase starts on the first day of your period. So day 1 of your period, and it lasts until ovulation. So here's what's happening during that time. Levels of estrogen and FSH, or follicle stimulating hormone, gradually increase in your body. Now, estrogen is known for its positive effect on mood, and it often contributes to a sense of well-being, and it gives you more energy. We talked about this last week as well. Okay, so phase 2 is ovulation. So around the middle of the cycle, ovulation occurs, and there's a peak in estrogen levels. So those estrogen levels have been rising until ovulation, and this is when many women feel their best. So the mood is stable, energy levels are high, there's often an increased sense of confidence and optimism. This is kind of maybe when you're more creative. This is probably like when you want to have sex the most. Just because this is when our bodies are ovulating, and we are the most primed to have a baby at that time. Number 3, the luteal phase. So this is the third phase. This is kind of what we talked about in the beginning, but after ovulation, the luteal phase begins, and this is where things get interesting with mood changes, and maybe challenging for some women. So during this phase, estrogen levels start to decline and progesterone levels start to rise. Progesterone has a sedative effect, which can lead to feelings of fatigue, irritability, and in some cases, depression. As the luteal phase progresses, both estrogen and progesterone levels drop sharply, and that can trigger the onset of PMS symptoms. It is a hormonal roller coaster, especially the decline in estrogen and the rise and fall of progesterone. That's largely responsible for the mood swings, the irritability, and the anxiety that many women experience during the luteal phase. I also want to say that there's a big kind of push in recent years for like fasting and intermittent fasting. Please do your research and know that for women, there are certain times of the month that are optimal for you to participate in fasting. and not. There are certain times of the month that are optimal for you to restrict like what you're eating, and you'll get the most benefit out of fasting. And then there are times of the month when you really need to be giving your body such nutrient dense foods. So please listen to your body. Learn to listen, learn to understand, what am I craving during this time? What does my body need? Same for the amount of exercise. So we just kind of talked about what happens during each phase. There are times when your body is asking for a slowdown. So this week kind of maybe leading up to your period, it might not be the week for you to be running every day. Your body might crave more time with your feet up. So listen to your body and take care of your body in that way. Okay, so let's talk about how these hormonal changes impact mood and anxiety. So why do these hormonal changes have such a profound effect on mood and anxiety? It comes down to the way hormones interact with neurotransmitters in the brain, like we talked about last week. Okay, so estrogen. We talked about how estrogen rises and then falls during the second half of our cycle. So estrogen is known to influence the production of serotonin, which we learned last week is a neurotransmitter that plays a key role in regulating your mood. When estrogen levels are high, serotonin production increases, which can lead to an improved mood and a sense of emotional stability. However, as estrogen levels drop during the luteal phase, serotonin production can decrease, leading to mood swings, irritability, and increased anxiety. Okay, progesterone. This is the other hormone we just talked about. It interacts with GABA. So the GABA receptors in our brain, we talked about that last week. GABA is a neurotransmitter that has a calming effect as well. And it helps to reduce anxiety and promote relaxation in the body. So while this might sound beneficial, the problem arises when progesterone levels drop sharply towards the end of the luteal phase. So that leads to kind of like a rebound effect. So suddenly the calming influence is gone and anxiety levels will spike. So the combination of lower levels of serotonin and a dip or a bump in GABA really can cause problems for us right before our period starts. And that's something that I experience almost every month. So in essence, the hormonal shifts during the luteal phase can create the perfect storm for mood changes and anxiety. The decline in estrogen reduces the brain's ability to produce mood-stabilizing serotonin, and the drop in progesterone removes the calming influence of GABA receptors. So that leads to an increased feeling of anxiety and irritability. Does that make sense? I don't know how you can tell me if it does. Maybe give me a thumbs up or something. Okay. Hopefully, just like we talked about last week, I believe so much that knowledge is power. And when we know what's happening in our bodies, when we know kind of what is going on, sometimes that in and of itself can reduce the stress around it, because we know, like, okay, there's an end to this. But also there's some things that you can do about it. Okay. So what you eat can have a significant impact on your mood and energy levels. I believe this to the soles of my feet. Soles of my shoes, right? I don't know. Do my feet? I don't know. Okay. So we talked about this a second ago, but you really need to listen to your body, and your body is going to demand different things, calorie-wise, from a nutritional standpoint throughout the course of your cycle. It's going to be different. So during the luteal phase, focus on a balanced diet, rich in complex carbohydrates. We have made carbs the enemy in our society, and they're really not. Good carbs are good for you. We need carbohydrates. And this can help you stabilize blood sugar. And it also, guess what, supports serotonin production. So we need to be very careful as women that we are not like cutting carbs out. We need carbs. Okay. Foods high in magnesium, like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, pumpkin seeds are great, can also help reduce anxiety and improve mood. Also, we always recommend a magnesium supplement to our clients. We just believe that we are very low as a people in magnesium because of the lack of nutrients in the soil that our food's grown in. So some of these things we have to supplement, and I think magnesium is one of them, 100%. Second thing, lifestyle-wise, is exercise. We talked about before. Also, you need to exercise in a cycle. So it's not always the same thing every day. You need to listen to your body, know what your body needs. But regular physical activity is important. So for me, I've decided at 43 with I've got old knees from playing sports for many years. And for me, my exercise of choice now is a walk. I take a nice walk every morning. And we're going to talk about meditation in a second, but I listen to this amazing app called Soul Space that I'll tell you more about in just a minute. And I get my time kind of in meditation, in relaxation while I'm exercising, and I am spending time with the Lord during that walk. And that's kind of my main exercise of choice. I also really enjoy lifting weights. I've always enjoyed that. But running is no longer part of what I'm going to do in my life. So let me tell you what exercise does in your body. So regular physical activity is a powerful tool for managing anxiety and mood swings. Exercise boosts endorphin levels, which are natural mood elevators, and they can also help reduce physical symptoms of PMS. If you're dealing with any kind of bloating or fatigue, a great brisk walk sometimes can help with that. Third on the list, actually, in my opinion, is probably most important, and that is sleep. So I would recommend some kind of sleep tracker to try and figure out maybe how you're sleeping at night, what the quality of your sleep is. It's very important to maintain a consistent sleep schedule. So as women, we need to aim for about 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep every night. It's really important to do whatever you can do. I know some people who have cooling mats in their bed to help them sleep. Maybe different kinds of noise in the room. There's different kind of megahertz levels of different noise that work for different people. Maybe we'll do a podcast on that sometime because I think that's fascinating with the different megahertz levels and how it either relaxes the brain or energizes the brain. Just take a little time to maybe get a sound machine for your room, maybe use an app on your phone. Or what I love more than any of those is a nice air purifier in your bedroom, which is kind of giving off a nice hum, but also making sure the air is nice and clean while you're sleeping. It's no surprise to anyone that lack of sleep will exacerbate mood swings. We have to be rested. It's very important for us. So let's talk about some stress management techniques to use. And what we talked about last week, I want to kind of bring up again, because you can't wait until you're stressed to use these techniques. You need to be building a pathway of relaxation constantly so that it's easier to kind of gain access to that on-ramp when you need it. If I'm only, breathing deeply or doing my box breathing or doing my safe, calm space meditation when I'm elevated, it's a little bit harder to build kind of that parasympathetic neuropathway of relaxation. So practice this daily. Mindfulness and relaxation is so important. So let me see if I can pull my app up on the phone. My favorite app for this is called Soul Space. And this is something we use all the time at Steadfast. We recommend it all the time. And I had the opportunity to get connected with these folks via email. And they are the sweetest people. They love Jesus, and they are just all about glorifying him. And this is the best meditation app I have found that really has a focus on Christ. And their tagline is a place to anchor your thoughts to the love of God. And it does. These are great, deep meditations, but they use science-based techniques that we also use in the therapy room. They use these as their meditation. So they're going to use things like safe, calm space. They're going to use body scans. And I hear the narrator just saying things that I say in the therapy room all the time. These are great. So personally, for me, I use these every morning on my walk. And it's called Soul Space. It's a free app. You can download it and you get one meditation a day. You can do the paid version and get like longer ones. But you really get a lot from the free app. And they also have Bible studies in the paid as well. And also the neat thing with the paid app is you can then, they log all of their meditations by category. So let's say you are having a season where you're dealing with anxiety. They'll have like a whole section with anything that's kind of related to anxiety, then gets dumped into that folder, and you can click on that and have like 25 or 30 meditations that you could just do for the whole month, all related to anxiety. So super cool. I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. Like, I just really love them, love this app, and highly recommend it. So, but I use this in the morning on my walk, which, by the way, to get outside in the morning, one of the therapeutic techniques that we use for trauma in the space in the therapy space at Steadfast is something called EMDR. And I'm going to do a video on this in the future so you guys can understand it more deeply, but it stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And EMDR was developed it was several decades ago. It was developed, but the lady who developed it actually developed it as she was walking through parks, like with trees, and she noticed as her eyes were kind of moving in this way, bilaterally, back and forth from tree to tree, she was noticing some change. She was noticing that she was able to process things a little bit more quickly. And so EMDR was developed basically out of a good walk. So take a good walk in the morning. Look up at the skies. I love to listen to this app and look up at the skies and just think about, like, God, you see me. Like, as I'm walking, I connect with him on that walk. But I'm also looking around, like I'm letting my eyes like kind of go back and forth. And I'm kind of processing and thinking deeply about things. And I like to really think deeply about how much God loves me and sees me. I love to rest there, and how he delights in me and he knows me. And so this mindfulness and these relaxation practices over time, every day, really build that sense of rest and restoration that is needed in our mind. It's like it builds that muscle. We don't want to constantly be kind of ruminating and in this place of stress and rehearsing our stress in our mind. We want to be in this place of rehearsing, I'm seen and known and loved by God, and he is for me, and he sees me and he knows me, and I have freedom to be myself in that place. So I just invite you into that type of mindfulness and relaxation. These practices are important, like I said, to practice all the time. So we build that pathway, but you can tap into them when you need them as well. So for me, those cortisol levels kind of spike early morning between the hours of like 2 and 5-ish for me. And so if I were to ever wake up at that time, I do breathe deeply. I try to remind myself, like, your brain works a lot better in the daylight, Jesse. You don't need to solve all the world's problems in the middle of the night. And then I pray and I just ask the Lord to help me rest and go back to sleep. He's given us the gift of rest. We don't need to strive. Okay, so therapy-wise, I just want to throw a plug in here for cognitive behavioral therapy. This is probably the most, we have the most data around CBT and anxiety treatment. At Steadfast, I think most of us probably use cognitive behavioral therapy as kind of an on-ramp season for maybe some deeper therapies. We believe everyone kind of has a little bit of trauma they need to work through. And so whether that is cognitive behavioral therapy leading into internal family systems, leading into EMDR, leading into brain spotting, that is for us, or some attachment stuff, that is for us a lot of times the on-ramp. So cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a highly effective approach for managing anxiety and mood disorders. It involves identifying and challenging negative thought patterns that can contribute to anxiety and replacing them with more balanced, realistic thoughts. So working with a therapist who specializes in CBT can provide you with tools to manage PMS-related mood changes more effectively. It is a very tools-driven. I love CBT as a start because I feel like even in that first session, like my clients leave with just like a little sack of tools to start using right away to start attacking some of these things and feeling some relief really quickly. So we talked about supplement-wise, we talked about magnesium earlier. I'm not going to give you a lot of supplement recommendations right now, but I do want to give you this some exciting news. So some of you know that before I opened Steadfast Christian Counseling a few years ago, before that, I had a solo practice, and it was called Charleston Integrative Counseling. And I'm a big believer in a holistic approach to emotional and mental health. And so I'm very excited to announce that starting this fall, Charleston Integrative Counseling will now be under the umbrella of Steadfast. And for adult women who are dealing with anxiety and depression and want to really take a deep dive into what might be some root cause for this, we are so excited to be able to tell you that we're going to now be able to offer that to you. So we have a partnership with Charleston Functional Medicine, who will be in-house with us in our West Ashley office. We also will have a massage therapist in-house with us. And for women who really who've been experiencing anxiety, who've been experiencing depression, who've been experiencing some of these things, and really want to get an idea of what's going on under the hood, you'll be able to meet with Amy at Charleston Functional Medicine first, and she'll order pertinent labs for you. She'll get you locked in on a specific individualized nutritional plan for you, supplemental plan for you based on those numbers. You will meet with her over the course of 8 weeks, and you will meet with a therapist for 8 weeks, and you will be able to get a massage for 8 weeks. And this will just be a beautiful holistic package that you can step into as a woman. And then in the course of a couple months, really feel better, really get an understanding of kind of what has been going on. And we're just so excited to be able to offer that to you starting in October. So if that's something that you guys are interested in at all, please direct message me. Please don't tell me anything about your situation over that message. We want to hold that for our HIPAA compliant line. But if you just want to drop me your email address and say, "Hey, Jesse, add me to the list. I'm excited about this. This is totally something I'm interested in." Then we'll add you to our email list, and as soon as we start opening up appointments for that, we will get you. We'll get you in line for that. More information to come on that in the future. We'll probably have a little website that just basically shows all the things that are offered in that package, but it will just be for women, adults. And everything that we do within that practice is also rooted in Christ. So that's really important, I think, for a lot of you who are listening. And we want to let you know that you'll be able to get that holistic care that you've been looking for. So just to wrap up here, I hope you're excited about that because I'm really pumped up about that. And I wasn't like completely sure I was going to share that today, but I just felt like it was the right time. And so hopefully that builds excitement with you guys as well. And just reach out to me. You can email me at connect@steadfastcc.com, or you can message me through Instagram or Facebook. I get all of those messages, and we'll get you hooked up and ready to go when we launch that in October, which is, I can't believe, just a month away. So, all right. So let me just bring it back here. So PMS related mood changes and anxiety is very real. But they can be managed. Understanding the hormonal changes driving these symptoms is the first step. Just like we talked about last week, understanding what's going on in the brain. Knowledge is power. It's the first step towards taking control. You can make these lifestyle modifications. You can practice these stress management techniques. You can see a therapist. Some of these things are rooted in just such deep habits of thinking that you need to walk with a therapist to get some of these things untangled. One of my great friends and mentors gave me this. I'm going to show you real quick. It's this little picture here of just a little, was this a spool of thread? She painted it. But what we do as therapists, we just help people untangle the things that are tangled up. So bring your spool of thread in. We'll help you get it untangled. I had a client one time that said, I felt like I came in here with just like a big bowl of like spaghetti noodles, and now I can see all the strands laid out. You really need someone to help you do that. It's hard to find yourself by yourself. We were made for this type of community, and we as Christian therapists are trained to help you untangle these things. Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to say this. I probably don't say this enough because I know so deeply who we are at Steadfast, but I'm finding that like the more opportunities I get to speak, I need to just keep saying who we are because you guys might not know. So I want to remind you who we are at Steadfast and what we believe in. So at Steadfast, we are a therapy group practice. We're based in Charleston, South Carolina, and we are very deeply committed to the clinical tools that we use and the education that we provide to the community. We are clinical therapists. We are trained. We have degrees. We have licenses. We have ongoing training. We have tools to give you. And we believe that those tools are a gift from God. And we believe strongly in the power of what God has revealed to us through science, particularly in how the brain, body, and emotions interact. So our mission at Steadfast is to help believers to care for themselves first, and also each other in healthier and more holistic ways. I just keep being reminded of the question asked of Jesus, Teacher, what's the greatest commandment in the law? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. So there's this kind of, that's self-care right there. The call to us to know ourselves, to care for ourselves, helps us to care for others. It's a given. We cannot care for others if we don't know how to care for ourselves. And we want to help the church do that in more healthy and holistic ways. We take the integration of faith and mental health very seriously, and we understand that true well-being encompasses both. So through our work, we aim to equip you with the tools you need to navigate life's challenges while staying grounded in your faith. I really thank you guys for trusting us to be a part of your journey, whether you're one of our clients or whether you are tuning in on YouTube and you enjoy to listen there, or you listen to our podcast in your ears. I just really appreciate it. And I hope that you are encouraged and you feel supported every step of the way. I do need to say that please don't substitute this for therapeutic advice. I mean, I am a therapist, but if you want a professional, seek out a professional. Find a professional to help you, okay? So thank you for joining me on the Steadfast Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe. Leave a review. That helps people find us so much. Share it with others who might benefit. If you get that urge to share it. I just was talking to you a second ago about soul space. I was listening to it. I shared it with someone that came to my mind. Take those things seriously and share those. Remember that managing anxiety and mood changes is a journey, and you do not have to do it alone. We can help you. So reach out. All right. So until next time, hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.